Welcome to the Land Use Board meeting of October 2nd, 2023. We will begin our meeting by standing and saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the entrance hall of the Beach Haven Municipal Building and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times and the Asbury Park Press. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision for each individual application. Decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Let's do roll call. Mrs. Eddles?
Here.
Mrs. Leonard?
Here.
Mr. Balbo?
Here.
Mr. Tinquist?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Jenna?
Here.
Mayor Davis?
Here.
Mr. Meadow?
Here.
Mrs. Ballmiller? Mr. Lafredo? No. Not yet. Mr. Wenger?
Here.
Miss King?
Here.
Mr. Halperin?
Here.
Okay, moving right along, go down to the approval of minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes? There was a slight change in them this afternoon about the reason that Chatsworth was changed, why they went. It was carried because they were going to do the, what was that called? Frank, wake up. What was that called when?
What?
With Chatsworth, they had to take the average. They don't need the variance.
There was an ordinance that had.
That's what it was.
You could average your adjoining neighbors, and they withdrew. They'll get a decision from the zoning officer.
Gotcha. Okay. So
And actually, Bonnie, my comment later this afternoon was for what Frank was saying. My recollection, it was withdrew or delayed, so the zoning officer could determine whether they're in compliance or not.
right. And they found out that they were, so they decided they didn't need to come back, correct? Right.
So I thought the minutes should reflect that it was
Right.
the zoning officer
Right.
who had to assure
Yeah,
compliance.
we did that.
We did that this afternoon. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move, Penny.
Second, Jerry.
Okay. If you disapprove of the minutes, raise your hand.
Oh, wait.
Are you
Oh,
disapproving?
disapprove. I thought you said, so if you
No,
approve.
no,
That's what I was like, wait a minute.
disapprove.
What?
Otherwise, that means everybody approves.
Yes.
Okay. We have approval of the minutes.
Yeah, it was. She
Right.
said it funny.
All right, moving right along, we have the approval of the bills for October 2023. They weren't so bad this month, I didn't think. Can I have a motion to approve the bills?
So moved. Second, Penny.
Is that Nancy and Penny?
Yes.
Okay, you can call the roll on that.
Mrs. Eddles?
Yes.
Mrs. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Balbo?
Yes.
Mr. Tinquist?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Jenna?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Meadow?
Yes.
Mr. Wenger?
Yes.
Miss King?
Yes.
Mr. Halperin?
Yes.
Bill list approved.
To all business tonight, we have resolution 22-09 Tucker's Tavern. The resolution previously stated there will be no outside music. That has been.
This is
You want to
Robin.
say something, Robin?
I do. I just had a conversation with Jim Rabin, and there was a discussion about what the board had discussed versus what is in the application. There's a little bit of a discrepancy. So he's asked if we could put that on for the December meeting. So we can give us time to discuss what was actually in the application, what was testified to, and what was approved by the board. So if the board would consider adjourning that into the first December meeting.
And what happens if we don't?
If you don't adjourn
should-
it, then we deny it. And there's really nothing that happens because they just requested to amend the existing resolution. So there's
Right.
no effect.
So if we just say no, it just stays, as no music.
Right. I mean, well, it stays as approved and there's no change.
All right, I need somebody's
Bonnie,
opinion on this.
my understanding on that resolution for Jim Stevens, he wanted a definition of what loud meant.
Right,
And I don't see any
I
definition.
think what loud would be in accordance with what the noise ordinance says. But I think that the resolution is really silent about music at this point. So refusing to amend the resolution would just maintain the status quo. And then they can bring another request along or another application if they want to amend it.
I mean, I listened to the 4 meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many of the rest of you went back and reviewed them. The very first meeting that we had on Tucker's, all the people, the public did was complain about the noise. They complained about the noise upstairs, downstairs, on the westerly decks. They complained about the noise of the trucks. They complained about the noise in general. That was, and very first meeting, Penny brought it up. Are you going to have any live music, like a guitar playing or something like that? And I think the remark was we would make a concession not to have music. That's how I interpret it. The second meeting, Scott Herensky, after all the talk about the buffer and the loading zone and every other thing, Scott raised his hand and he said, well, what about music? And he said, well, we would just have music, something about the speakers going in. So in my mind, you can only have 2 speakers going in because if they're on the building, they're going out. So, and then it kind of went away because of all the other things, the sidewalk and everything else that was going on. And then when it came time to pass the motion and write the resolution, it wasn't mentioned. So they didn't bring it back up. They didn't insist on it. They didn't say, oh, don't forget the music. So I don't know that they need music. I don't know that we need to go around this mulberry bush again.
Right. So right now, all you have before you is a request to amend the resolution, which is silent on the issue of music. So you can deny the request to amend the resolution.
Right. That's my feeling. I don't know how everybody else
So
feels.
just because the resolution is silent doesn't mean that it's against it, correct? In the absence of
Correct.
anything specific, that means they can do what they want. And I
just
think
wanted
the
to
town is
express-
getting beat up enough about being silent on the amount of seats at certain places, et cetera. So I think we need to make sure that we have a say in it and spell it out exactly how we want it.
Right. We want no music on the east side. That's not, I mean, that's how I feel. I'm waiting for the rest of you. You don't have to agree with me. You can have a totally different opinion about it.
I personally would say I would want no music on the east side. I mean, I live close to the Shell, and I can only speak from my own experience, but even when they just have canned music, yeah, I hear it. And it's annoying.
Well, you don't have before you an application for music right now. You just have an application to amend the existing resolution. The existing resolution is silent about music. So we can't say right now there's no music. The board can rule on the request to amend the existing resolution. So you can deny that request, but there hasn't been any testimony to make a ruling as to whether to ban something that the original resolution was silent on.
So in essence, you're saying we should just deny the request.
No, what she's saying is we have to go with the table and let them come back in November, plead to us as to
Oh, no,
why,
you-
and then we can say no.
you have a pending request and you can say no to that request. Their pending request is please add a condition on the existing resolution that would permit us to pipe music. And you can say, no, we're not going to add that right now.
That's right. We're
Right.
saying, no, we're not.
We're not changing.
No, we're not going to add that condition onto the resolution. The resolution stays as it exists.
Which makes them have to come back to us with what they
If
want to
they-
do.
If they want to add conditions about music, yes.
But can they have?
Yeah, but it sounds like they can still have music. If it's
No, they
silent to
can
it, it
still
doesn't
have
mean,
music.
it doesn't
have
mean that they
no-
can or cannot.
They have no permission in that resolution to have music on the east side.
But they don't have any provision in there to not have music either.
But if it's not in
Or
the
to have.
resolution, they can't do it.
Well,
I
Mr.
don't
Meadows
know. That's-
is technically correct. I mean, they don't have, there's no permission and there's no prohibition against music in the current resolution.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Right.
there's nothing.
So if they comply with the noise ordinance and there's no complaints, then there's technically no violation.
You don't think they would try it?
All right, Robin, I want to know what we have to do to keep them from having music on the east side.
To keep
don't
them
think
from
we
putting
can.
music on the east side, I don't know that you can do anything to keep them from having music on the east side at this time. Because right
Because
now,
we
all you
missed
I
our
have,
don't
chance.
understand that. I don't understand if when they got approval, they did not get approval for music on the east side, why all of a sudden you can say, oh, they can have music now.
because the resolution didn't address whether or not there could be music playing. And if there's nothing, is there anything in the ordinance saying that they need permission to have
I
music?
mean, I
And
can't
it's
believe
not-
the land use law, Robin, I can't believe the land use law doesn't cover that in the fact that you're saying people could eat nude there because it's not in the resolution. That makes no sense to me. You've got to have something that, I mean, if music comes up and it's come up before and the noise complaints from the neighbors, if we don't put it in a resolution, it's always been my understanding, they don't get it. And we didn't put it in the resolution. So in my mind, they don't get it. Why would they think they could get it?
Can I say something? I think what you should do is, like the chairman said, just deny the request to amend the resolution if they want music.
And they
Let
come
them
back.
Come back, make an application, notice the neighbors, and we'll have another.
Oh my
hearing to
God.
Determine if they can have music.
All
And I
right.
bet you any money they don't come back, because once they have to notify the neighbors are going to be here in full force, not asking.
All right, if
for
it
music.
wasn't in the original application and it's not in this one, and then
Yes.
if there's an issue, then they're gonna have to come back before the board.
Not
But we
correct.
can't put any conditions on an approval right now when we don't have a pending application.
So you need to deny the request to amend the resolution.
Right.
tonight,
If
And
they,
then let's see where it goes.
Right.
if they requested an amendment for the resolution, why can't we just amend it to make sure that there's no music?
That's what I don't understand.
Because the request is to put music in, not to change it, not.
Right, they didn't put it
Get
in an
awful specific
application
there.
to amend their site plan.
I think for the public record, if we deny the application for live music or any piped in music, for the public record, we're denying music. I mean,
Because we don't have an application for music right now.
You
We
don't have
an
an application for that. We
Right, there's
just
no-
have,
there's no
I agree. We have to deny this
We have to
request.
deny the resolution.
I think,
Right.
The other,
deny it.
I think the other part of that is if I thought there was going to be outside music, I would have done the same thing that we did to the old clam bar and said, 2 years, we'll come back and take a look at it before we give you a final sign.
Right.
So to me, if that goes in, or if they're even allowed to me, that should have been triggered. So to me, there's never ever music.
What, you know what I'm not understanding? What's the disadvantage to waiting to see what they come back with in December and then you can still deny it?
There is, right. There is no
Disadvantage.
disadvantage. That's what Frank is
Just
saying.
we're taking care of
Frank
tonight.
is saying deny the request tonight. If they don't like that answer, they can
They can
fill
come
out
back.
another application and come back.
And apply.
Tom's point was, he still thinks, even if we deny the request, they can go play music. I don't get that. Would they
Why?
get
It doesn't
noise?
say that they're in violation. It doesn't specifically say that they're not, they're in
It
violation.
doesn't say that they can have.
That's what I'm saying. I really think that we're
They
getting
can,
to the
and it
point
doesn't say
that,
they can't.
But we can't.
If they were looking to specifically amend, say that they could.
Do with an application.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Period.
If it wasn't in the resolution, it's not permitted.
well, yeah, we
You
can't,
can't start adding
Yeah.
every resolution and say, well, you can't have an elephant on the patio, you can't have
Right.
people dining.
well, it's not unreasonable to think that you can't have music at a restaurant.
I mean,
You know, I mean, the law is based on reasonableness.
the applications I've been on, not just in this town, when music comes up, it's specific in the resolution that you can have. If it's not in the resolution, you can't.
And shame on us for not putting it in there.
If
They'll
they
have
wanna
to
it,
come
let
back.
them Come back and make an application, notice the public, and let's hear what the public is.
Well, the fact that they've actually come to ask for it means that they know that they can't have it. So maybe we'll roll that dice.
Right. All right. Enough conversation.
I'll make a motion that we deny the resolution.
Thank you.
I second.
Have a second?
Need a motion to deny.
Deny it, yes.
Deny it,
Yeah,
the request.
I second, Penny.
Mr. Meadow,
Oh, sorry, yes.
Mrs. Eddles,
Yes.
Mrs. Leonard,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Jenna,
Yes.
Mr. LaFredo.
Yes.
Yeah. Resolution revision denied.
Thank you. All right, moving along to our second resolution, the Tagnata Minor Subdivision, 300 South Atlantic. Minor subdivision approval in the two-family residential and historic districts. Anybody have a comment on this resolution? Nope. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second, Tom.
Mr. Meadow,
Yes.
Mrs. Eddles,
Yes.
Mrs. Leonard,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mr. Jenna,
Yes.
Mr. Balbo,
Yes.
Mr. LaFredo,
Yes.
and Mr. Wanger.
Yes.
Resolution approved.
Okay, that's about it for the night. Can I have a motion to adjourn? So moved.
Second, Penny.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
See you in November.
Another short meeting,
Another short one.
I think.
Not as short as the
Because you
first
didn't
one.
vote on the,
We're talking about
Tucker's
Yeah,
Rezo.
November.
I can't believe the Tucker's Rezo. I don't know. I just looked back today and
It was just
July, a minute ago.
You had to be a yes vote.
just
You know,
going too fast.
Tucker.
You had to be a yes vote.
Yeah, I don't
You
know.
can't be a no
All right.
I don't remember the details, but I know, I'm pretty sure you weren't, you didn't vote yes, or you maybe weren't there. It was January. It was January. I don't know if you remember what happened in January.
All right, see you guys in November.
Yeah. It sounds such a long way away, but it's a month away. Oh my gosh.
Not tomorrow,
Next week, because they have that.